we're blessed.
Good evening, everyone. I'm going to call this meeting to order for Sebring City Council on Tuesday, May 21st, 2024. If you all stand with me, the mayor's going to say the prayer and the pledge.
Please bow with me. Lord, thank you once again for a wonderful day. Thank you for the city that we live in. Thank you for the staff that we have that keeps the city going like it is. We ask that you watch over all our citizens as we go into the summer season and protect them and guide them through all the issues that we have. We ask that you watch out for everybody and that all we do in your name, Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right. Ms. Haley, can you call the roll, please?
Yes, sir. Mayor Shute.
Here.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Hayford.
Here.
Mendel.
Here.
Stewart.
Here.
Bishop.
Here. All right. Next, if anyone from the audience has anything to discuss that is not on the agenda, if you could fill out one of the forms on the table there up front and hand it in to Clerk Haley, we'll get to it at the proper time. Next up is Mayor's report.
I got several things tonight. Since the last meeting, we did have a community meeting with Central Florida Regional Planning Council. Thanks to Ms. Barnby for hosting us on that. Had a good attendance, had 40 people maybe? I don't think
over 50.
A little over 50 people showed up, so it's really kind of neat to see that and kind of review the comp plan and go through that. We had the chamber banquet, did a great job. It was packed this time, just was really good. We did have an unfortunate incident in Lake Jackson, I'm sure you all had heard, and we lost a young man from Wauchula in a boating accident or a drowning accident that we had, but we had a great response from the cities, and I'm going to just list people, our departments that had got out there immediately. It was our City of Sebring Fire Department and Police Department, the Florida Wildlife Commission, Polk County Sheriff's Office, Frostproof Fire, Highlands County Sheriff's Office. Bob August came, and Greg Griffin both had drones that flew over and tried to find this young man, and it took well over a day. And it's just an unfortunate event, but that's kind of what the water safety. We did have some people from the public that also did participate and helped out, so we just have to be careful when you're on the water. It is a dangerous thing, and we feel sorry and pray for the family of the young man that's life was taken. A couple upcoming things. We had the Sea Service. It says Memorial Day event is Monday at 2 p.m. So if y'all want to come, they do a great job with that. It only rained once. That's all I got blamed for. So, and then also on the 15th is Juneteenth. Ada McGowan's putting on another good program for that. I do have. Is someone from the TDC here besides you? We do have a proclamation. We just want to proclaim National Travel and Tourism Week, and I proclaim that May 5th, 19th, or the 21st is National Travel and Tourism Week in Highlands County, and call for this observance to the attention of all our citizens. So, got a lot of tourism. I think we're going to have a lot of tourism coming up with the events that's been happening over the last 4 months, which most of you know about HGTV in town. This is their final week, and planning to air sometime in the first half of next year, so it should be good. I have one other big event that I need to announce here, and if it's kind of one of this love-hate relationships that we do. We love the guy. We want him to stick around. He's going to go off and fishing for the rest of his life, I think. But Sean Buford is retiring from the City of Sebring Police Department. So, Sean, if you'd come up with your family to the podium. We have a proclamation for your service. Chief Hoagland, there he is. All right, whereas Sean Buford began his career with the Sebring Police Department as a police officer in February 2005, and whereas Sean Buford was promoted to the rank of corporal in 2018, and whereas Sean Buford was promoted to the rank of sergeant in 2021, and whereas Sean has served the citizens of the city of Sebring in his department for over 19 years with honor and distinction. And whereas Sean Buford has retired from his position as sergeant on May 20th, 24. Now therefore be it resolved that the mayor, city clerk, and members of the city council of the city of Sebring do hereby convey their sincere appreciation for the years of dedicated public service rendered to the city and its citizens. Sean, thank you for everything that you've done. This man's a lifesaver. He's put his life on the line for us, and he also saved our citizens' lives, and we really appreciate it. He's been a good friend also. It's really sad to see you leave the department, so as long as you stick around Sebring, we're okay.
On behalf of the entire department, we've got some staff here. I certainly want to thank Sean for his years of dedication and service. The stories we could tell, we could keep everybody here for hours. We won't do that to him or to you. Sean, we wish you well in the future. We hate to see you go. We hope you stay close. Come by, don't be a stranger, and please be safe. Live retirement to its fullest. Thank you so much for everything over the years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just want to say it's been an honor and a privilege to serve the people and the citizens of Sebring. And I'm quite sure the department is in good hands. Thank you.
Very good. Thank you. That's all I have. Yes, Chase isn't going to do that. They're all on camera. You have it?
Motion for 6B.
That's yours.
I'm gonna get Carl. I'm gonna have Carl present.
Sure.
Carl.
I thought Carl was going to present that.
Do you want to do the,
I apologize. I thought I was getting to leave also. Mayor, council, and staff, good evening. Item 6B for your consideration is the request to present retired Sergeant Sean Buford with his commemorative service awards. As we frequently do for retired officers, we present them with a uniform, a badge, their service handgun, and a retired officer ID card as outlined in Florida Statute 112-193. Toward that goal, I would ask that you approve the request as presented and authorize the department to purchase a replacement gun since we can't seem to keep him hostage and prevent him from retiring.
entertain a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the request to declare Sergeant Sean Buford's service handgun as surplus so that he may be presented to him with a uniform badge and retirement officer identification card, and authorize the purchase of a new firearm.
I second that.
Ms. Haley?
Who seconded? I'm sorry.
Terry.
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 Carlisle.
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Mendel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Bishop.
Yes.
Thank you.
Carl.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, next up is council members' comments. Mr. Carlisle.
Well, I kind of disagree with the mayor on that meeting we had the other night. I wanted more people to be there. You know, I'd like to have seen a lot more people, and I'd like to see more pastors. We had one pastor, you know, and I'd just like to see more people show up. Comprehensive plan, that's what we're planning for the next years in Sebring, and I just would like to see more people.
That's the most we've had since we've been on the board.
I know it is. We've improved it, but I'd
It's
like
growing.
to see it more. So I just wanted to complain a little bit.
I'll take it.
Yeah,
You're not the
okay.
first.
That's all I have.
Ms. Mendel?
Good evening. I wanted to comment again on the death of Omar at our Lake Jackson and what a tragedy that was. And I live right in the vicinity where they were searching for the body, and we were praying for a good outcome. And I was so proud of the city's response, closing off the Veterans Beach for the family. There were quite a few family there all night, Saturday night into Sunday, and Kellyanne and Michael with Water Sports went and took them breakfast on Sunday morning. The city was making sure the restrooms were clean and could accommodate a lot of people, and everybody was very in prayer for the tragedy of this young man. So it's nice to live in a caring community where we all took that very personally. So that was so good to see, and that the boats were out there day and night until they found them all night. And we watched, and it was very sad, and our condolences go out to the family.
Thank you. Josh?
I attended the Planning and Zoning Board meeting last Tuesday, which was probably the bulk of our new business this meeting. Some pretty good stuff and some interesting things that we'll hear about tonight, and that's pretty much it.
Went out to the golf course today. I know this is, I don't want to step on Roland's toes, but I'm going to step on your toes for a little bit. Fred's doing an awesome job at the golf course. All of the greens have been removed, so we're working on finishing all of those up. I think he said tomorrow we're going to start with the fumigation process. Is it tomorrow? No, tomorrow are the, I don't know golf. I'm not a golfer. I'm an accountant. But we're making really good progress. Fred says that we're on schedule for everything. One of the very exciting things that's happening is this Saturday there is a pop-up disc golf tournament going on. So that's something new that we're going to try to introduce. And so far, we got about 40 players signed up for Saturday. They're coming all the way from some in Lakeland, Tampa, Orlando, Miami, all over. So there's some good excitement. We'll see what happens with it. So just heads up in the future, that could be on future agendas. I think it's a great thing for the city to explore. It doesn't interfere at all with any of the golf gameplay. It's just something that we could bring in additional revenue and more excitement, more families over to the golf course. I agree with Fred. The Muni is going to be one of the premier golf courses in Highlands County. So he's doing a great job, and appreciate all of his work and all the team's work over there at the golf course.
Thank you. I don't have anything to add, so we'll
Tee
move.
boxes. I was looking for tee boxes. Those are tomorrow.
Tee boxes.
Yeah, tee boxes. For the
Leveling.
record.
Leveling of the tee boxes.
Leveling of the tee boxes. See, we're a
Got
good
you,
team.
man. Next up is the consent agenda. Any questions on the consent agenda?
I make a motion we approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
Okay. Ms. Haley, pull the board.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Mendel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Bishop.
Yes. All right, we have no old business. On to a string of public hearings. First up is item 10A, public hearing and ordinance 1524. An applicant initiated request to vacate an alleyway located at 228 North Ridgewood Drive. I'll call to order the public hearing. Mr. Swain.
Ordinance 1524 is on your agenda for second and final reading. It's entitled, "An Ordinance Vacating the Alleyway Lying Between lots 1 through 6 and lots 7 through 10, Block 49, Original Town of Sebring, lying in Section 29, Township 34 South, Range 29 East, Highlands County, Florida, and establishing an effective date." This is to vacate the alleyway in the parking lot behind the old Wachovia Bank building.
Okay. Any questions from the public? Nope. Adjourn the public hearing. Any questions from council? No.
I make a motion that we approve ordinance 1524 on second and final reading.
Second.
Ms. Haley?
Carlisle.
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Mendel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Bishop.
Yes. All right, next up, item 10B, public hearing and ordinance number 1525. It's an applicant initiated amendment to zoning map, specifically changing the zoning designation at 339 Lemon Avenue. Mr. Swain.
Proposed ordinance 1525 is on your agenda for first reading this evening, and it's entitled, "An applicant-initiated amendment to the zoning map specifically changing the zoning designation for a 0.45 acre parcel at 339 Linden Avenue from Commercial District C1 to Planned Development PD, providing for severability, providing for conflict, and providing for an effective date."
All right, and the purpose of the public hearing is to receive public input. We have Ms. Barnby is going to present us some stuff to look at here.
Yes, thank you. For the record, Marissa Barnby with the Central Florida Regional Planning Council. The applicant's representative is here as well, and she'll be able to answer any questions you may have of her. Next slide. Thank you. So this property that you can see surrounded in yellow on the slide is located at 339 Lemon Avenue. It is owned by iBuy Capital LLC. The request for the zoning change is to go from C1 commercial to planned development. Next. The property does include an existing two-story structure. The intent is to redo the structure. The upstairs portion has three multifamily units on it. The downstairs structure, the applicant would like to convert into 3 additional multifamily units. The reason this has to have a planned unit development change is under the future land use to get the intensity, because it's such a small lot, to get that level of intensity, the comprehensive plan requires it to get a planned unit development. So that's why they're asking for this today. Surrounding the property is a mixture of uses that include a single-family use next door, the school that surrounds the back side of it, and some commercial properties. Next slide. This is a picture showing the front of the building, including the fenced-in yard area that they have. Next. This shows the right-of-way that is directly adjacent to their property that runs around the back side. That right-of-way does service the school and that surrounding area back there. Next. This I took from Google Maps to kind of just show the flavor of the neighborhood, so you can see the non-residential uses that are kind of across the street and down the street. And then this is similar, it shows that right-of-way, but then you can also see the school facility that wraps around this property. So this is your future land use map. This site is downtown mixed-use redevelopment, which is the same as all the properties that are surrounding it. Your existing zoning, downtown mixed use does allow for residential, retail, and commercial. It will allow up to 40 units per acre with approval of a community redevelopment by the Community Redevelopment Agency and the council. The Community Redevelopment Agency, next slide, thank you, did send a memo last year saying that they do approve the redevelopment of this site into these 6 multifamily units. Next. So this is the existing zoning today. As you can see, it's C1, similar to the neighbors, except the public piece around it, which is the school site. And if the zoning is changed, this site would get planned unit development zoning. As I mentioned, they are wanting to put in 6 multifamily units. The units would range in size, the smallest being 744 square feet, with the largest being 1,236 square feet.
That's amazing.
There's a laundry facility on the site that will be there, and then they're proposing within that fenced area to, in addition to building the parking, on-site parking for the site, they are also going to have an area there that is fenced for children play area and taking your animals out, that type of thing. This site also has, sorry if you could go back one more slide. Discussions between the city and the applicant, recognizing that this is a residential use and you're going to have visitors that want to come and all that. The applicant worked with the city, and they will be putting in the 5 spots, parking spots in the right-of-way adjacent to the property. They will also be striping the parking spot that's currently sitting there right up front, because there is a fire hydrant there and you can't park in front of the fire hydrant. So they will stripe that piece out so that it is clear that that is a non-parking area. Next slide. We did look at this for impacts to public facilities and services. This site is obviously already constructed. It's a redevelopment site. The utilities, Sebring Utilities did issue a letter saying that they have capacity to serve the project if it is redeveloped into 6 units. Same with solid waste. The school board issued a letter saying there is capacity in the school system to serve this site as redeveloped. Recreation and open space, the city's level of service has capacity, but also the site is including an area that would provide on-site recreational opportunities for the residents. Next slide. The site does have access to the surrounding thing to put in the 5 spots to assist with parking in that right-of-way that surrounds the property. This is kind of just showing again where that right-of-way travels around their property, and then those five angled parking spots that would get put in that place. This is a planned unit development, so we do have proposed conditions that we would like to have or recommend to have in the ordinance. The first one clarifies that the site would be developed consistent with the master development plan, and any modification would have to meet the section of the code that discusses how modifications to planned unit developments occur. We also have the requirement about striping and maintaining the on-street parking spaces in that right-of-way, and that they would stripe the parking space with the no parking area in front of the fire hydrant. This is what your zoning map, again, existing looks like today. This is what it would look like if this is approved. Next slide. Planning and Zoning Board did hear this on May 14th, and they did discuss it and recommend approval. I'm happy to stand for any questions you may have, and as I mentioned, the applicant's representative is here as well.
Is the 5 spots the only, and in front, is that the only parking?
No, I'm sorry. Can you go back to the site plan? They are proposing parking on the site itself. So there are...
in the grassed area?
Yes, they're building a parking lot there, so there would be 7 parking spaces there, including the 1 ADA, and then they were putting 5 additional in the right-of-way just to help support, additional potential need that would come from that.
The reason I ask is because the building that used to be there burned down. I lived there.
Really?
And we parked out in the street.
Sure, and this is obviously part of the town where you can rely on street parking, but in our discussions with the applicant, to have 6 units with people in it, they have the space, they have the land available. We thought it would be helpful to have an on-site parking.
Yep. Thank you.
Is that a one-way looper on there?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say if it's two-way, we may have an issue with the parking, but if it's
Yeah.
one-way,
No,
it
it's
should be good.
one way.
Okay.
You
And
come
then
in
I'll-
off of Lemon and go around and
Right.
it comes out to Orange.
How do they access the upper stories there? How will they access that?
That's,
Good
yeah.
afternoon, everyone. My name is Maria Hagen. I'm the
Come to the-
architectural designer on this project, and I've taken our 100-year-old building and renovated the interior of the building. But let me answer your question. Let's see, so. This is a blow-up of our proposed first floor apartments. Oh, thank you, Scott. Thank you, Marissa. Yeah. So if not, I can just hold it up. Is that better? Oh, I'm so sorry. So here, this is, these are photographs of our existing property. If you went there tomorrow, it would look exactly like this. These were taken recently. And this is, this stretch of green, Lemon is over here on this is Lemon here. And this is, the school is over here. So if it matches Marissa's site plan. And if you'll see this side of the building, double up on this. So this is the proposed on-site in the grassy area, parking area. Marissa, could we have the site plan up to, oh, he has it. Oh, I didn't know who was controlling. Thank you, perfect. So this building is where you see all the white building, and so there's a 7 proposed parking spaces in the existing grassy area. So this would be the parking lot. If this was Lemon right here on this side, this is Lemon, and this is the front of our building. This is the back of our building, and the school's over here. So that proposed 7 parking space parking lot area would be in this area right off of Lemon. So you come in and out of Lemon on that parking spot. And then over here would be where we have the playground, the fenced-in playground and doggy park for the tenants. And then getting back to your question, how to access the building. So if you can see, see where the car is in that parking space? Directly in front of that car against the building. Oh, you gotta go back. Yeah. There's a stairway. It's this stairway going up to the 2nd floor. There is no internal stairway. The 3 existing apartments, which are on the 2nd floor, will be accessed by, the first 2 apartments in the front are accessed by they're only accessed by this exterior stairway. And then on the other side of the building, which is, let me see if I have that. Yes, on this side, we have another small stairway going up to the 2nd floor rear apartment. So there's no internal access on the two separate stairways.
Does that give adequate escape from a fire?
According to the fire department, yes, the chief, I met with him a year ago regarding this when we started planning, and he and I met on site, and he approved our proposed, at least for fire safety, as well as our proposed sprinkler layout, fire suppression system and sprinkler system for the first, actually for the 2nd floor.
So the 1,200 square feet apartments would be like 3 bedroom, 2 bath?
Yes, actually, okay, let me just show you. Yes.
That's a nice big apartment.
Yes. So let me kind of go in order if you don't mind. This will be a little easier. So just to finish up with the 2nd floor, this is our existing 2nd floor. So we have 3 apartments. As Marissa said, the smallest is about 769 square feet. These 2, this one's a little bit larger with a sunroom. These are existing. We currently have a building permit for our renovations, which are currently underway. And as soon as the renovations, we have the inspection and we're approved, we can start renting these 3 apartments. So that'll be happening very quickly. And then downstairs, let me show you. There's the 3rd apartment in the back. A portion of it is only 1 story downstairs. So the 2nd floor doesn't cover the entire building. And so that's the 2nd floor. And getting back to the 1st floor now. This is our existing 1st floor, and this is, as you saw in the photograph, it's all grass right now, all the way to Lemon. It's just a big, huge, open green yard. And we're not increasing the footprint at all. We're just working internally to convert this. It was a plumbing supply company. And basically you walk all the way through, it was open from front to back, and we're closing off the openings. Luckily for us are concrete. We're just closing that out, blocking that in permanently, so that we have proposed 3 separate apartments, as well as an existing 1-story shed that we're planning to put washers and dryers and some storage cubbies for the tenants to use for their excess storage. And square footage, that's right, you asked me that. Square footage is, let me get that for you. Okay, here's the proposed layouts showing the bedrooms. I'm sorry, I forgot one thing. 2nd floor are all 2 bedroom, 1 bath, and the 1st floor proposed, they're all going to be 3 bedroom, 2 bath. And the square footages on those are the 1st apartment right off of Lemon. Let me get my glasses, I'm getting older now, so bear with me. Okay, 1st floor apartment proposed 1,200, I'm just gonna round off to the nearest foot, 1,225 square feet. The 2nd apartment in the middle proposed is 1,236 square feet. And the 3rd apartment is just slightly smaller at 1,115 square feet.
Nice big apartments.
Yes, and tried to make it where the living space is large enough to enjoy, you know, the floor plan layout. So it's comfortable, they're comfortable units.
All right, thank you.
Oh, you're welcome.
Does anyone from the public have any questions at this time? All right, I will adjourn the public hearing. Any more questions from council? I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 1525 on first reading and schedule second reading at second and final reading of June 4th, 2024.
I second it.
All right, Ms. Haley?
Carlisle. Carlisle.
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Mendel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Bishop.
Yes. Thank you.
all. I
Thank
appreciate
you.
your time and your questions.
Next up is item 10C, and can we pair these?
Yes, sir, we can hold public
Okay.
hearings for 10C and 10D together if you'd like.
Public hearing and ordinance numbers 1526 and 1527. The applicant initiated amendment to future land use map. I'll open the public hearing at this time. Mr. Swain?
Ordinance number 1526 is entitled, "An Applicant Initiated Amendment to the Future Land Use Map, specifically changing the future land use designation for 4 properties totaling approximately 3.67 acres and located at 4260 Lakeview Drive, 400 Lakeside Road, and 4270 Lakeview Drive from medium-density residential MDR and conservation to public use and recreational use." Ordinance number 1527 deals with the zoning on that same parcel of land, and it's entitled, "An Applicant-Initiated Amendment to the Official Zoning Map of the City of Sebring, specifically changing the zoning classification for those same 4 properties totaling approximately 3.67 acres and located at 4260 Lakeview Drive, 400 Lakeside Road, 410 Lakeside Road, and 4270 Lakeview Drive from wetlands, floodplain, conservation overlay, public, and single-family residential R1A to public.
All right, thank you. Ms. Barnaby?
Thank you. For the record, Marissa Barnaby with the Central Florida Regional Planning Council. Next slide. This is a joint presentation for both those items. The parcels in blue are the 4 parcels we're discussing here. If you actually look, it looks like it's 5, but the one closest to the lake is 1 parcel that's split by the road. These parcels are owned by the City of Sebring. City of Sebring is the applicant. This was notified in the paper, and surrounding property owners received notices. And anyway, the site together is 3.67 acres. Next slide. The request, as already stated, future land use is to go from medium-density residential and conservation to public use and recreation. And the zoning is to go from wetlands, floodplain, conservation overlay, public, and single-family residential 1A to public. Next slide. This parcel, so you can see the 4 parcels that we are discussing as part of this amendment. The pieces in yellow are also owned by the city. That would be Veterans Beach. They are not part of this application because they have the future land use and zoning on them that they need already. But we just wanted to make sure it was clear that these all tie together. The property, as mentioned, is adjacent to Veterans Beach. The site itself includes parking for Veterans Beach. It has the former Women's Club building on it. There's a cell phone tower, some utility structures, and part of the parcel, or part of the property, one of the parcels is actually vacant. The surrounding property, it's county on the other side of Lakeside Road, and the surrounding property includes uses of public, a mixture of R1A and public, which includes single-family homes, the park, and some vacant land. These are Google Map images of the sites, so we know what property we're talking about. Next. And then this is, of course, the piece that is adjacent to the lake. So your future land use map, as you can see, the majority of the sites, everything on west side of Lakeside Drive, or sorry, Lakeview Drive, has a medium density residential on it, 3.27 acres. The piece on the lakeside of Lakeview Drive has conservation future land use on it today. Medium density residential does allow single family and multifamily development up to 12 units per acre. And then conservation is supposed to be recognizing sites that have environmental constraints such as wetlands or floodplains. Next slide, the proposed future land use, if it was to be adopted, would change the piece on the lakeside of Lakeview Drive to recreation, which is consistent with the other 2 parcels that the city owns there for the park. And then everything on the other side of the road would become public use, which is consistent with with how those sites are being used and the fact that the city owns them. So, as it states, recreation makes sense. It's for recreational type uses and public uses for public uses. Next slide. The zoning on the site is a mixture of R1A and public on the lots, on the land side of Lakeview Drive and on the water side of Lakeview Drive. The land use on the map is shown as wetlands floodplain conservation overlay. Next slide. The public, again, recognizes public-owned lands. R1A allows single-family residential up to 3.48 units per acre. And the wetland floodplain conservation overlay zoning district was actually repealed from the code several years ago. So changing the zoning on that site on the map is consistent with what's in your code. So this is what the proposed zoning map would look like with this change. All of those parcels would be assigned public, which is consistent with what's adjacent on Veterans Beach property. There is water, sewer, solid waste that the city could service this site if the city were to at some point decide to add uses to that site, to those sites. The property does have transportation access. If there is future development that would come, then at that time we would have to do an analysis of the impacts on that. There is no impacts to schools or recreation open space because these are not residential uses we are proposing. It is consistent as a future land use and zoning together, going together to change this, not only consistent with what's surrounding, but also with your code and your comprehensive plan and that the uses on the site as they exist today. This is, again, just a reminder of what your future land use existing and going to propose would look like if you were to recommend approval on that or vote to approve it. Next. Planning and Zoning Board did make a recommendation on May 14th to approve both the future land use or recommend approval to you for both the future land use and the zoning map amendments. And this would be your motion options for the future land use ordinance.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions or comments from the public? Yes, ma'am.
We have to go up.
Yes.
Hi, I'm Waxon. I just have one quick question on the wetlands portion that's small. Is there some kind of remediation requirement because it was wetlands?
It's not jurisdictional wetlands that would require that. That was the designation that the city gave to that property. It was an overlay
So that's why they
district that used the word
reversed it
floodplain in it.
before.
I'm
Yeah.
sorry?
So that's why they reversed it prior to your presentation?
Mhm.
Yes.
Okay, that, I just wasn't clear on that.
All right. Anyone else? No. Then adjourn the public hearing. Any questions or comments from council? If not, I'll entertain a motion.
I make a motion, we approve ordinance 1526 on second and final
And
reading.
20
First reading.
Oh, yes, do so, sorry.
We have to vote separately.
Yes.
Yeah. I said
Yeah, you're right.
26.
Yeah.
You're right.
Thank you. Well, I made the motion.
Second.
Ms. Haley?
Carl,
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Mendel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Bishop.
Yes. Right. Next is
I
1527.
make a motion, we approve ordinance number 1527 on second and final reading as presented.
And I second it.
Ms. Haley?
Carl,
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Mendel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Bishop.
Yes.
And
All right.
just, sorry.
Yes, ma'am. Go
Nope,
ahead.
we're good. You're
All right. Next up is item 10E, another public hearing, resolution 2024-09, A proposed change in use for the real property located at 320 Spruce Street and 400 Avocado Street. Mr. Swain.
You have the resolution in your agenda materials that would authorize the change if council were so inclined to do it. This is the public hearing to see if there is concern with the proposed change in use.
All right, I will now open the public hearing. Next up is Ms. Barnby, who's going to give us a presentation.
Yes, thank you. For the record, Marissa Barnby with Central Florida Regional Planning Council. Next slide. This is a change in use request for property owned by the city of Sebring. The Land Development Code requires any change of use on property that has a public zoning designation on it come and go through the hearing process, which is why we're here today. The site is approximately 2.91 acres. The site request will be a change in use from city uses to multifamily residential. Next slide. We do provide this, so the red properties is the ones open for the public, for the change in use. The parcel identified in blue is also owned by the city. It would be a part of the overall future application to this site, but it is not a piece of the request for this evening. You can see there's also the right-of-way in between. The site itself currently has city uses of vehicle repair, equipment and material storage, a wireless communication tower. The surrounding property, there is single-family residential to the north, and then to the south-ish portion, there is commercial warehousing type uses. Next slide. This is a Google Map image to kind of show you the area of where this site is located. This is the future land use map. You can see that the site is downtown mixed use, and to the north there's properties that are residential medium. Everything else around it does have downtown mixed use on it. When you look at the zoning, the zoning for these two sites are public. The site we looked at with the blue surrounding is C2 on it. Next slide. Again, the change in use request does require for public zoning district to have a hearing with the Planning and Zoning Board and one before the council, and that's to ensure compatibility with the overall plan of the city. The people with the discussion is Blue Sky. They are looking at potentially putting 120 units on approximately 7 acres, so that would be the pieces you're talking about tonight, as well as that piece that's blue and potentially that right-of-way in between. Their height, they would look at possibly 4 stories at approximately 55 feet tall. And then the rental rates, you can see their range between $720 to $1,010 for a 3-bedroom. Next. Oh, my pictures went away. There were pictures. Sorry. There it goes. Okay. So this is the pictures that they did submit as part of what project they have also developed, I guess, somewhere in the region nearby that to show what it could potentially look like. Next slide. This did go to plan. Oh wait, I'm sorry. Yeah, that was. I had to go back one more. I put this in the wrong order. I apologize. So they are looking at doing this as an affordable housing project, potentially through the Live Local Act. This is language that was adopted, signed into law last year, March 2023. The governor actually signed the amendments that went through this year on April 16th. Essentially what the Live Local Act does is it says in any jurisdiction, city or county in the state, multifamily is allowed in commercial or industrial zoning districts if it includes affordable housing. There are a whole bunch of conditions in there that require, including that affordable housing component has to exist for 30 years. And it's a percentage of how many of the units it would be. They do have a provision in there that says if less than 20% of your city has commercial industrial zoning type uses that are zoned land, then the project would have to be a mixed-use development project. We did a quick analysis of your commercial, industrial, and Sebring has less than 15% of the city falls in that category, so this project would have to meet those requirements. Next slide. And then that's, again, the three city with the pictures. Go ahead. This did go before the Planning and Zoning Board on May 14th. They did have quite a bit of discussion on it. They did vote to recommend approval. They did voice their concern and wanted to have the surrounding property owners within 200 feet be notified of the change via letter. And they asked me to include that in the package, so.
So our ordinance doesn't require that. We can certainly make a change to the ordinance if you would like for these kind of zoning change in uses on public property to have that notice requirement. It is required where there was a zoning change.
Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions or comments from the public? Nope. Adjourn the public hearing. Any questions or comments from council?
So to clarify, we're voting to change the use of this property only, right? Again, so that everyone else knows, we're not approving the project itself that's being proposed, just changing the use on this parcel.
Correct, and I would recommend that the council consider tabling action on the resolution until it makes a determination of whether it wishes to move forward with the Blue Sky project.
So you're saying we're putting the cart before the horse right here?
Yes, sir.
Okay.
So what does that mean? Does that mean we would vote to approve the change if contingent upon?
He's saying just table it until we determine.
Just make a motion to table it, right?
Right, you have heard that you've allowed for public hearing, public comment. I recommend simply tabling it, take action on it if and when you take action on the Blue Sky project when it comes to council.
So I make a motion that we table Resolution 2024-09 until we make more decisions.
Second.
Saley?
Carlo,
Yes.
Henry.
Yes.
Mendel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Bishop.
Yes. All right. Next up is business from the audience. Ms. Verna Flexen would like to talk to us about trees around a circle.
I know we talked about the trees not around the circle itself.
Within the
on
circle.
The other side
Right.
of the circle. And I didn't know if anything had,
What's come of it?
yeah.
Just getting to it
Okay.
and finding something to cover the hole that will then be in the grate.
Okay, because I was down there, I'm sorry.
No,
You weren't done.
go ahead.
I was down there last weekend with some friends,
Mhm.
and it was just so hot. And we were walking up Ridgewood and then going across Ridgewood and around that whole side. And one of my friends turned to the other one and said, God, I'm so glad these trees are here. It is so hot. They really help. Just saying, it really does help.
The issue is the other problems that they cause with the sidewalks,
The roots and.
the power, things like that. So
I wonder if there's any way to choose some kind of tree that doesn't cause as much.
we're looking into all options.
Right.
This is actually the third set of trees that have been on the
Yeah.
circle. I
Right.
think it's a third.
They've just
wasn't it?
outgrown the area. That
Right.
So they have to be replaced like every 15 to 20 years because
Right.
they just get so big.
So is there any move toward doing that, or,
We're trying to find something that could replace them,
We've actually met with.
and provide shade as well? or-
possibly.
'Cause
The first step is to just get them
Out.
out.
Yeah, okay. All right, good, thank you.
We have met with Bobby Hefner at Robbins Nursery,
Uh-huh.
and he's come up with some different options and that stuff that we're looking at, so.
Okay. Okay, that's good.
All right, thank you. Mr. Swain, anything else?
Nothing further, sir.
All right. Mr. Nagelick, you're up.
Good evening, council. Agenda item 13A is RFP 24-008, award to Waterfront Concessions at Veterans Beach, license to use city-owned property. At your September 5th, 2023 meeting, staff requested council schedule a workshop to discuss the use of Lake Jackson and public parks by commercial businesses. The workshop was scheduled for Thursday, September 14th, 2023. In council chambers, the workshop resulted in council instructing the city attorney and staff to research and draft an ordinance for council consideration. On February 29th, 2024, the city attorney presented to Mayor Shoup, Councilman Havery, and city staff a draft ordinance for review. At this meeting, staff was asked to publish an RFP for waterfront concessions at Veterans Beach. The bids were due May 10th, 2024. The purchasing department opened the proposal for RFP 24-008 on May 10th for the use of waterfront recreation at the southern half portion of 4270 Lakeview Drive. The RFP drew a response from one single vendor, Lakeview Water Sports. Both parties for the proposal is for a 12-month term with the option to renew if agreeable by both parties for additional 12-month periods. Attached for council consideration is the proposal. Lakeview Water Sports, Inc. has offered to pay the city $1,200 annually or $100 a month for the license to use the property. Attached for your consideration is the RFP and the bid response by Lakeview Water Sports.
All right. Thank you. Any questions or comments from council?
I read through the submittal. I met with the owners of Lakeview Water Sports last week and went and looked kind of at the site that we're talking about. Makes a lot of sense to me. I think it's a decent area. I don't think it's going to infringe on the public's ability to use that land. I think they have some good ideas. I'm in favor of it.
Yeah, I know I also spent a lot of time with Kellyanne discussing it, and in the previous months and the year or whatever, I would take time to drive by there and look at the equipment that they had out, and notice that people were really enjoying the water sports company and what they had to offer. And I've been real impressed. I had the same questions everybody else had about the legality of it. I think it's a unique situation with the I've already forgotten the last name, Carosas, have water sports. They live right there. But every time I came by to look, people were enjoying it. It was all well presented. The watercraft were just very varied and just really interesting. And I think it's a great service for our city if we can make it work legally. And it is just a 1-year lease. So if things don't work out, we could do something else. But I think I definitely am in favor of it. And one thing, in spending a lovely time with Kellyanne, we were discussing the lake and safety. And I know in years past when I've been out on my wave runner, I always have a rope with me, and many times I've thrown a rope to boats that were out of gas or whatever in the lake to haul them to the shore. My little extra service. But you know, it does happen out on the lake, and I know in the incident with the elderly couple that had bought the brand new wave runner, they got in trouble, and water sports was right there to help them. And of course, our fire and rescue are amazing. And I think it's a wonderful asset to our city. I think we've had a lot of people enjoying it. I've heard a lot of good interaction there, and I'm all for trying to make this work. I think it's a good idea.
Thank you. Anyone else?
I think it's a great idea. I really do. My only concern is our citizens have a limited amount of places to go to the lake.
Mm-hmm.
So as long as it don't affect the citizens, you know, and so they can still use the property and stuff, I really don't have a problem with it. I think it's a great idea, and I wish them the best. And like she said, it's a 12-month. We try it and see what happens. But, you know, we have 2 other beaches that the citizens pay for that they don't even get to use. You know, and that's, I've talked about that ever since I've been a councilman. So there's limited amount of places for
Okay.
citizens to go.
Harrison, Mr. Mayor.
There's, I mean, just some technical stuff I think we need to consider. The storage of the units and everything, our ordinance says you can keep 2 boats and 2 other, I can't remember what it said, but total of 4, that, which included anything that's powered by
Anything that
paddle.
floats.
Pardon?
Anything that floats.
Anything that floats, basically, so I know they've kept more than that on the property now. How's that gonna be handled? And is it gonna be a change to the ordinance? Is it gonna be an exception? There's some, also storage, I think in there was a storage of a trailer, but if I read it right, the trailer storage was on public property. So I'm not sure, there's some things that, from a technical nature, that we just have to, I think you have to clean up and clarify what we're gonna do with it. I don't know, Bob, if you can, if that's gonna be an issue with how we handle that, or?
Well, what we could do is you could authorize the preparation of a license if council wishes to move forward and have that come back to council for final approval at a future meeting.
I just think there's just stuff that's on the books right now that prohibit them from actually operating, even if you approved them to use the property. It's
They're
still,
still
there's no
breaking
storage,
ordinance.
there's no storage on public property, and then there's limited storage on the property that they have. So if they have 2 boats, or those little cats, or whatever they call them, and Craig cats, and then 2 of the floating docks actually in our ordinance are classified as a boat, because they can be propelled by a paddle. And then you have the paddle boards and kayaks and whatever else is, that's against our ordinance. So how are we gonna handle that? That's the only consideration, that we could approve this thing, and then 2 days later, code enforcement could go out there and say, you can't do that on the property. You gotta go store these someplace else. So I think it's just,
I'd be in favor of updating that ordinance, because you drive around the lake, there's a dozen other people that are violating it, you know.
with paddle boards and that stuff, it's, if they're properly maintained in a rack, it's not a bad deal.
Right.
And you can easily get more than 2 paddle boards and
Yeah.
a boat and something else on your property.
Right. One of my staff members lives on the lake, and he's violating it right now.
What's his address?
I'm not going to tell you. But the point is, I'd be in favor of updating that a little bit,
I
make
would
more
be
sense.
too. Or even like a temporary variance until we see how it works out or whatever. But Josh, well, I didn't even know about that ordinance, and we've had quite a few boats and all.
Yeah.
Right now, I guess we're down to the 2, but it doesn't take long to give you a big dock.
Chief
to get-
Hoagland has something to add here.
Oops, sorry.
Mayor, Council, staff, good evening. Chief Hoagland for the record. From the perspective of code enforcement, I would absolutely agree that we should probably do some housekeeping on the ordinance, and I will throw myself on the sword. I'm in violation now. I have 2 kayaks on my dock, in addition to a boat in my yard. So this is a very difficult thing to regulate consistently with water sports, because the blow-up kayaks, the rafts, the boats, you're allowed 2 recreational vehicles, and that's everything from a boat to an RV to a trailer to a lawn care trailer or anything else in between. I think it'd be a great opportunity to figure out what a compromise would be that can be applied to everybody. We certainly don't want to allow somebody on a lake more privilege than someone in Highlands Homes, but we don't want to overdo it. Obviously, there's an opportunity where you could say you're allowed 5 or 6 or 10. We'll have to figure out what that magic number is and what works for the majority of our citizenry. I'd be happy to work with certainly our code enforcement and with building zoning, as there may be some zoning issues that have to be addressed at the same time, to see if we can come up with something that works and present it to staff.
Yeah, I got a question. Would you mind repeating what all it puts you in violation? Because it
Not me
sounded like
personally, no
I was
ma'am.
violation. Yeah, what was it? How many? What were
Anything
that?
that floats is a boat.
So it's
But he
it's
had
actually,
an RV in there.
Yeah, it's
didn't he?
actually beyond just things that float. I believe that the reference in ordinance is recreational vehicles, and that could include a trailer with 2 PWCs on it. It could be a kayak. It could be an inflatable paddleboard. It could be the rafts now that float, the picnic tables that float. All of those are considered in that ordinance.
I'm going to jail.
Not by me, ma'am.
Well, I didn't even know there was such an ordinance, but that's easy. I mean, when you got a bunch of kids, that's easy to get up over that in an RV.
Again, I'll admit I have 2 kayaks on my dock that put me in out of compliance. So it is a difficult thing
We do need to do
reasonably
housekeeping.
enforce. Yes.
Yeah.
We'll send code enforcement over there.
Thank you,
So
sir.
what do we do? What do we
Harrison, you
do?
have something you wanted to add?
You guys have been operating for over a year now. I'm wondering if we approve this, if we just have like a 6-month checkup point too, just to see how things are going. If we need to make any adjustments, depending on kind of feedback from the community, because I know you're just in that very difficult spot too, with public right here and your property here, and I get calls all the time too of you guys operate, and we talk about this. I've been to your house, been talking to you both.
Sorry, we have lots of friends.
Yeah, so it's just.
We're not operating for them.
I understand that. So I think like the public perception of that as well, of operating a business not on your property, even though you've been using city property, it makes things very difficult too. But I mean, I'd be open to, like, you're going into your busy time too. The last thing I want to see too is just say, you guys gotta stop. You can't use our property, even though that's what you've been doing the last about 15 months. So. But I think if we move forward, let's have a checkup period, see what we need to do to maybe reevaluate, if anything, and just to see how things are going.
We definitely have to do some of the ordinances.
Yeah, we do.
And that could fix a lot of the issues too that
Yeah.
would go along with this.
I don't see there's any reason we couldn't move forward with the RFP, even though the ordinance needs to be changed. I mean, nothing has changed in the last year. It's not being enforced now. It's not about to be enforced. We just need to clean it up on our end.
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I don't know if you want to move forward with that because you're allowing, and this is the harshest conversation, is they're breaking the law. And it's not, and I'm not putting it that way, but I don't know if you should move ahead.
Wasn't that the purpose of this RFP, to bring
Well, it doesn't-
bring everything into compliance?
It doesn't address the ordinance. It addresses what they want to do,
Mm-hmm.
but it doesn't address the ordinance that's on the books from the way I see it, so. And I think Bob's suggestion is probably a way we can get this thing cleaned up from day one and not have any issues at all.
So I will agree there are most likely technical violations throughout the city that are not being enforced unless we receive complaints on them. Our officers, we have 2 code officers for the city. They do not actively go out and count the number of kayaks on people's docks any more than they count the number of trailers in yards. Frequently, this becomes a tit-for-a-tat neighbor-type dispute where they believe something's being stored improperly or somewhere it doesn't belong. Certainly, we can't envision when those complaints may come in, and with the amount of attention this issue's gotten, they may come in Monday morning if we proceed with this.
We already have one complaint.
So,
Right.
that said, I think best course and scope would certainly be to address the ordinances, and the ordinance addressing could occur. It could concurrently occur while the RFP is approved. I will certainly leave that to staff for consideration.
All right.
I would be in favor of that.
Okay, I'm going to open it up to public comment.
I have a question. Why couldn't you just,
And what is
Kim?
your name, ma'am?
Verna
Tell us.
Flexen,
Oh, thank you.
why couldn't you just make a change to the zoning code for the property at Veterans Beach that would accommodate that? Wouldn't that seem like the most sensible thing to do?
I
It's
think
not-
one of the big issues too is just are we going to allow businesses to use public land too, just in general too? So are we going to open it up to just any business who wants to use our facilities, either at Veterans Beach or City Pier, anywhere? We got to, I think, establish something too of what does it look like for businesses to use city-owned property.
But it
that's
just
what
seems
this
like that
RFP
would
is.
be the smartest
Exactly.
thing to do, and then you're not in conflict with, it's just a suggestion.
Charlie Lawrence for the record. I just wanted to ask about that particular ordinance. Is that for residential single family or,
R1A.
or, because this is not going to be zoned for residential single family anymore. So can't you put more than 4 boats there?
Their property is where they store
Their
the-
property, but they're getting the RFP on city property.
but not to store the boats. They're
But
stored on their
can't
property.
you store
so-
more than 4 recreational vehicles on city property? That's, or does that ordinance
I don't
reflect
think
that
that
for
Technically, you
residential
can't
single
overnight. I
family?
mean, in a city property, you can't store over, you can't park overnight technically, so.
John, I don't think
on
they're
some of the
using,
issues, so.
they're not storing, they're on that side. I think that's what makes it so complicated in this issue, because they're You're saying that they're storing everything, correct me if I'm wrong, they're storing all of the boats on the city property. They haven't been storing it on their property itself.
So can't they
We
store
can,
that?
we can look at having
don't
the
you-
ordinances,
Yeah.
bring them into compliance, take that concern off the table.
Right.
We can
That's
can
just a
look at that.
concern that this is, you are gonna get somebody's complaint and saying, hey, what are they doing? You didn't enforce it on them, and then all of a sudden we enforce it on them, and it pretty much shuts them down, or they gotta find another way to do it.
Right, but again, the difference is that not necessarily they're storing it on their property, but with the RFP, can't they store those watercraft on city
I think that's
property?
the way the RFP that I read it is the use of that property, not for storage. So
Right.
Okay,
they're just using that 50 feet or whatever it is.
okay, but they're not allowed to store there overnight?
Right.
But could the RFP be amended? I think the lady was saying that for the city property, and still keep it with the 4 watercraft or 4 recreational vehicles on the R1 property.
That's something we're gonna have to discuss.
I think the RFP asked for a proposal.
Right. So things that are sort of, we'll call it up in play, is there storage permitted on the property? Is the use by Lakeview, is that exclusive to them for that whole southern half, or is it non-exclusive so other members of the public can use the property as well? We're going to have a 6-month review as part of this or not. So
Can I give my opinions on that?
Sure.
Are you polling, kind of? I would be in favor of allowing limited storage use as part of it. You know, maybe put a number of vessels or a way of storage. And I would say a non-exclusive use. You know, if members of the public want to have a picnic under the tree, I think they should be allowed to. And I don't think they would have a problem with that either. As far as the 6-month review, the way I'm reading it right now, it says we could terminate this at any time, the way it's written. Is that accurate? I was looking at early termination. It said we could terminate the contract in whole or in part at any time.
It does read that way.
So just to me, the 6-month review is, we can say that, but the point is we could get out or they could get out at any time if they wanted
They
to.
needed to.
Right.
You know, I think, as I understand it, Kellyanne might want to speak to it. Am I interrupting you?
Yeah,
Did you
no,
have something
that's
else?
okay.
Oh,
But I'd just like to
Yeah.
say, I'd like to find a way to say yes to this, because
Yeah.
Lake Jackson should be able to be used by other people, other than the people that just live on Lake Jackson, or that own a boat. And the old adage goes, you know, if it floats or flies, it's cheaper to rent, you know? So, you know, some people can't afford that. So I think it's a great thing to be able to rent these things. And if you postpone it for another 2 or 3 months, they're going to lose a big part of the season. And
Well, I don't think we're gonna stop them from what they're doing,
yeah.
but we're gonna get it all right, so.
We just wanna get the ordinances right.
Well, I agree with that. Get the ordinances right. But there is a difference between the ordinance for residential single-family houses and recreational vehicles versus city use or city property. You just rezone this into recreational use, so.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else from the public have something to say? Yes, sir.
My name's Gary Dalton. Just a couple of questions I want to ask you. I know they've been very good about putting their stuff in their slot on their property. What concerns me is what happens if you open that can of worms on that piece of property on the beach. Okay, once you open that can and you give it to them, are you going to set limitations in your paperwork?
That's what we're discussing.
That's what you need. It needs to be very specific on that, okay? Because if you don't, inch to, you know, I can take an inch, I can go a mile with it, okay? Just make it very, very specific on what you want them to follow in. But like I say, up to now, they've been very good about keeping all their stuff within their property lines and all that, even the floats and all that. Correcting the ordinances, this council has change the ordinance as fast as people change clothes, okay, throughout the last year or two. And some of them need it. Some of these ordinances need to be changed. Question is, where do you draw the line? If you're going to open it up to 5 boats, everybody will take that to heart, and they'll have 5 boats. If you open it up to 3 boats and 2 trailers, they're going to take that to heart. just be aware of all the, what we do when we make these decisions, and you put it in, you say, voted, done. Second, you can't close that jar once you open that jar up. Okay? So, just something to think about. Just gotta
Thank
get
you.
those details.
Thank you.
Right?
Thank you.
Anyone else? All right. What,
I have a comment or a question.
okay.
Yeah. One thing in trying to decide with this and all this question about if you open up this for this family, but this is really a very unique situation because they live right there. They're the only ones that have an interest in this and live right there on that piece of property. And the other thing, and Kellyanne might want to add if I got this right, but I saw a picture of a trailer they would like to buy if they get approved, that they would store a lot of things in. And one of the things they have, and I'm not sure if I heard it right, but some kind of grant or something where they have life preservers available that they would give out, and they already have been doing that, and that's a service I hadn't really thought of. But there are a lot of people that don't go out on the lake adequately prepared. So that was just something I'd add in there.
Ralph?
Ralph Flores, I'm the neighbor next door. They're doing a public service for this community and for visitors to come here. I think I brought it in front of the board about 7 years ago or 5 years ago when I started coming over about we needed something like this, and I brought that up in front of the board. We have a beautiful lake. I enjoy it, but as the tourists come over, what they can do is just look at this beautiful lake and can't fish off there. You can't do this. You can't do that. They need something, boats or something to enjoy the actual beautiful water we have there. Lake Jackson being a nice sandy beach, people love that water that they can go in there. And I think it's a public service what they're doing. They're helping the tourist department division bringing customers and bringing visitors to the city. I think it's a great idea, and since you changed the zoning, now, what is it? We don't have the zoning, we have the zoning. Are we comparing them with single-family residents, or, so, once, you can't, say, yeah, we have a change of the zoning for this, but you can't do that. Well, it's the same, recreational zoning, it's recreational zoning. Something to think about.
All right.
Thank you.
Go ahead.
Bob, so if we made the motion and voted to award the RFP for the license, how does that work then? You have to craft the language for that license?
Yes, sir. I mean, so what you did, you solicited proposals, they gave you a proposal. If
Right.
you want it as is, exactly as they have worded it, you can accept that. If you think that there need to be some clarifications to it, again, maybe addressing storage, things like that, then we can, I would recommend that your approval tonight be subject to approving the document, the license document that provides that to them. That way, council has clarity on what it is that's being allowed.
Okay.
All right. I'll entertain a motion.
I move to award Lakeview Water Sports, Inc. a license to use the southern half portion of 4270 Lakeview Drive for the use of waterfront recreation watercraft rentals with a license to be crafted by city staff for council approval. Subject to council approval.
I second that.
Ms. Haley, whenever you're ready.
Josh, and I'm sorry, who seconded it?
Terry.
Terry.
Sorry.
Cora,
Yes.
Avery,
Yes.
Mendel,
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Fisher.
Abstain. The proprietor is a family member of mine. I abstained at the previous
That's sufficient.
vote. All right. Next up, Ms. Haley.
Council's approved payment bills, please.
So moved.
Second.
Hold the board.
I was lying, I'm sorry.
Me and
Leonard.
Carlisle.
Yes.
Avery.
Yes.
Mendel.
Yes.
Stewart.
Yes.
Bishop.
Yes. All right. Meeting's adjourned.
Yeah, I don't second that.
That's it.